Hello, all you wonderful people. Welcome back to Kyle's Lists. Today we are covering numbers 40 through 31 on my all time favorite movies list. So we're going to go ahead and get started because these are all really good. At number 40, we have Donnie Darko. This 2001 Richard Kelly written and directed sci-fi romp stars Jake Gyllenhaal as the titular Donnie Darko. Donnie is a teenage kid who starts to receive these premonitions of a man in a bunny suit named Frank who tells him that the world was going to end in 28 days. So Donnie goes off to try and save the world. It is a weird, bizarre sci-fi movie that deals with time travel as well as some other similar things. And it's a cult classic and it's very, very unique. It also has a great supporting cast with the likes of Jenna Malone, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Patrick Swayze, Drew Barrymore, and even a little Seth Rogen cameo. Takes place in the 80s, features some great Tears for Fears songs, and is really just one of those movies that you have to watch multiple times to get it, but each time that you watch it, you get a little bit something more out of it, and you should watch it. At number 39, we have another sci-fi movie, Sunshine. This movie's probably a little bit more under the radar than Donnie Darko. This movie is directed by Danny Boyle, and it is about a crew of scientists whose mission is to reignite the dying sun so that the Earth does not freeze over. It stars Cillian Murphy, Rose Byrne, Benedict Wong, Chris Evans, Michelle Yeoh, and Cliff Curtis, amongst others. It is a really kind of thought-provoking film and features some beautiful visuals. The script by Alex Garland, who would go on to be one of the most popular sci-fi writers of the modern era, is very, very strong. He does a great job of giving each kind of character a time to shine. John Murphy's Sunshine score is absolutely fantastic and is used wonderfully in the film to add to some already great scenes. It is a remarkable film. It features kind of a twist in the end of the second act that carries over to the third act that rubs some people the wrong way, but I think it totally works within the merits of the film, and you should watch it. At number 38, we have Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, my first ever midnight premiere movie. This movie is really, really good. I only have two major gripes, which is why it is the lowest Harry Potter ranked on my list, but still a top three, as we'll mention two later. Deathly Hallows Part 2 is probably the best directed of all of the Harry Potter movies. David Yates kind of comes in the back half, and this is his fourth one in the Harry Potter universe, and you can tell he's just confident. The movie goes for it. It does a lot of really great things, hits a lot of wonderful emotional beats, gives some of the second-tier characters their moments to shine, and really adapts the epilogue really, really well. It takes all of the story beats it needs to hit, and it hits them. Um, and it's truly just a really, really great film. There was so much pressure on it to be this incredible ending to a really good saga, and in my opinion, it is a really good ending. So, unless you live under a rock, you probably have already seen it, but watch Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 anyway. It's right here. It's been behind me the whole time. At number 37, we have The Other Guys. This is one of the funniest movies that I have ever seen in my entire life. I'm not the biggest Will Ferrell fan. I think he's good in some movies, and in others I don't find him funny at all. But his chemistry with Mark Wahlberg is undoubtedly amazing. And in this particular movie, it shines way more than it would in the future in Daddy's Home. Adam McKay directs this film, which is kind of funny to think that Adam McKay went from making The Other Guys to being an Oscar-nominated director, but you know, the evolution of Hollywood directors. This movie actually has a really smart script, not only with its witty humor, but with actually kind of the subplots. So a lot of different parts of the cases get introduced, and they actually all lead together in a way that's actually surprisingly good for a comedy. It has a really good twist in it. The supporting cast, Rob Riggle, Michael Keaton, they're great. The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson play some of the greatest bit parts with one of the funniest movie exits of all time. There's so many incredible quotes in this movie that I just don't have time to list off. Eva Mendes and Steve Coogan are two of my biggest highlights in this movie. She does a great job as Alan's wife, and then Coogan is pretty much hilarious in everything that he's in. But in this particular movie, his sort of awkward quirkiness really balances well with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. And the other guys is overall just a really, really funny movie. At number 36, we have How to Train Your Dragon 2. If you want to make a sequel, study this movie. This is one of the greatest sequels ever made. The original How to Train Your Dragon, which is an honorable mention to my top 100, is a phenomenal movie. It has a simplistic magic to it. How to Train Your Dragon 2 takes that simplistic magic and it elevates it, and it actually goes with a much more darker and more mature story that's surprisingly dark for a kids movie, but it still keeps that magic from the first movie. The score by John Powell in the first one is incredible, and here he takes the greatest parts of that score, adds them again, and then introduces some new themes that are really good. There's so many more different types of dragons in this movie, and each of them is animated wonderfully. You can tell the detail that went into crafting these different types of dragons is awesome. The world of Berk and the world of the dragons is just expanded upon heavily. Features awesome action sequences, some wonderful heartfelt moments, and really brings the story of Hiccup and Toothless to a whole new level. It is truly a truly phenomenal sequel, and it is a definition of how you should make a sequel in Hollywood. At number 35, we have The Gift. Joel Edgerton is a wonderfully underrated actor, and this movie was actually his directorial debut. It stars Jason Bateman, Rebecca Hall, and Joel Edgerton himself, and centers around Jason Bateman's Simon, who is this successful man married to Rebecca Hall, who runs into Gordo, played by Joel Edgerton, who is someone that he used to bully in high school and when they were in school together. And Gordo seems to have some innocent intentions of just trying to let bygones be bygones, mend fences, and become friends. But it kind of seems like there's some awkward tension underneath. The movie is a thriller, so it does a really good job of having this kind of awkward tension in every kind of conversation, because you feel like at some point something's going to explode, but it kind of never does. So it kind of leaves you feeling even more awkward. Ultimately, the movie ends with a rather disturbing and tension-filled sequence that is a really phenomenal ending for the story. It is a thriller that should be watched by many more people than it was. At number 34, we have the Lego Batman movie. The Lego movie was awesome and a cultural phenomenon, and it's an honorable mention for my top 100. But the Lego Batman movie appears here at 34. Will Arnett has one of the greatest voices ever put behind Batman, probably second only to George Conroy, and I actually consider them 1A and 1B. This movie is not only a great Lego movie, but it's actually a great Batman movie. It takes the self-aware humor and the kind of the playfulness of the Lego movie and combines it with some of the more serious tones of a Batman movie, and really explores kind of what Bruce Wayne would be like when he's by himself in his giant house, not being Batman. It's a story about friendship, family, and being vulnerable. It's got a wide variety of villains with some incredible voice acting talent behind them, villains that come from so many other different franchises. It's really well animated, just like all the Lego movies are, and it's truly, truly a wonderful film. At number 33, we have John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum. Chad Stahelski, right there's the poster. Chad Stahelski does an incredible job directing this movie. You can tell that he's just confident, that he's firing on all cylinders, and it's really, really good. He does a great job of just balls to the wall action in this movie, doing everything the way that he needs to do. Keanu Reeves trained really, really hard to make this movie special, and you can tell the effort works out. Halle Berry, Angelica Houston, Mark Dacascos butchered the pronunciation of his name, and Jerome Flynn are welcome additions, and they make their debuts in this movie and help expand the world. This movie just really goes for it, has really innovative kills, and wonderfully executed action scenes. At number 32, we have Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, the second Harry Potter movie on this list, but not the final. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire is really kind of the beginning of the end of the Harry Potter franchise. It is the first foray into the PG-13 and dark tone, but it also has this sort of kind of hormonal, awkward romance tone to balance it as well. and it does it much better than the later Half-Blood Prince Down the Road. It's just a kind of bizarre how those two completely different tones came together. Obviously, the cast is at really high form because they're sort of growing along with their characters and becoming more and more confident as they go along. This has my favorite score in the series. It's actually quite underrated, I believe. This movie has some of the most iconic scenes in the entire Harry Potter saga, and it's really, really good. You've obviously probably already seen it unless you live under a rock, but watch it again. And rounding out our list at 31 for the week, we have Psycho. I told you that Alfred Hitchcock would be back, and he is back for this movie on the list. Psycho is about as close to film perfection as you can get. It is one of the top 5 most influential movies of all time, with 2 iconic twists and scenes that are immortalized in cinema history, and I do not say that lightly. Every sort of thriller or horror movie that came after has somehow been benefited or somehow taken something from Psycho. Janet Leigh's the queen of scream queens. Anthony Perkins is phenomenal as Norman Bates. And Psycho has been remade in a trash movie, but also reimagined in a prequel TV series, which I haven't actually seen but I've heard good things about. But this movie is just truly phenomenal. Bernard Herrmann's score is excellent, and you should all watch it. I watched it even knowing the ending and the twists, and it still had me on the edge of my seat, which is a showing of how much of a masterclass of filmmaking this movie is. That's our list for today. Thanks for watching. Tune in next week for numbers 30 through 21. And please take some time this week. I challenge you to watch a new movie that you've never seen before, maybe even one from this list. See you next week.